Hi guys. So in today's episode, we will take a look at the awesome Postgrex Hex package, and we'll look at how to do fast imports using fast imports and exports using Postgrex. Okay. So uh, the first thing we'll do is we'll create a new mix project, and I'm gonna cd into that, and I'm also going to copy the dictionary words to get a huge volume of English words. Okay, so this is going to be our data. All right, so I'm just going to call it data.text, and if I look at this, so this is so this is a bunch of names, and let me just do one check here, quick check, to see if there is a pipe here, and fixed strings. Yeah, so there's no pipe. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, right, so wc minus l data.text is that, and 99171, right? So sequence 1299171. This is going to be one of my files, and I'm going to have another file which is data.txt and data with IDs.txt. Okay, so hopefully data with IDs. Yeah. So if you see, I have an input file with IDs and IDs in text. Okay, this is going to be my dictionary. Okay, and what we are trying to do is we are trying to load this as quickly as possible into our database. Okay, and so let me just open a tmax session here, and we'll let me create a database here called createDB testDB. Alright, so fast Postgres. Okay, so let me open that up and create a table called words. It is going to have an ID which is going to be an integer, yeah, that. Not null, and it's a primary key. Okay, and it's also going to have something called a word, which is going to be a varchar and a not null. Okay, so that's good for me. All right, so now let's open up our next file, because the first thing you need to do to use Postgrex is you need to add a dependency to Postgrex. Okay, so what's the current version? It's not listed here. Okay, so I'm just going to say Postgrex and greater than 0.0.0. Okay, and if you just do a mix step start get quickly, we'll have the dependencies installed. Okay, and so that's that. And I also want to use pool boy for the connection pooling. Okay, pool boy, and is it called pool boy? Yeah, that's it. So let's just do a mix steps get to get pool boy, and yeah, it's installed that. So pool boy is used to do connection pooling for Postgrex. Okay, so when I say connection pooling, if you think about a database and an application, the communication happens over a TCP connection between Postgrex and between your Elixir app and your so Elixir and your database talk over a TCP connection. Okay, and so what you can do is to increase throughput, you can have multiple TCP connections. Okay, but databases can accept only a limited number of connections. So in that case, what you do is you use something called a connection pool, where you may have 10 connections at any point of time. And if anyone wants to do something with the database, they pick a connection from this pool, right? Use it and put it back in the connection pool once they're done. Okay, so that way we restrict the number of connections, and also have a lot of parallel connections. Okay, so pool boy is a nice connection connection pool manager. So we're going to use that for our connection pool, and we're going to put our config in our config ex file, and I've actually created this beforehand, and let me so the name of this application is Fast IO with Postgrex, right? So I'm gonna use that. So the name of the database is FV, and I have this username and password on my local computer. And so I just have 8 cores, and I'm going to use a pool size of 8. So what it's going to do is it's going to create 8 connections when it starts. Okay, so that's good. We may not have, we actually don't. I don't think we need those many connections at the moment. But anyway, all right. So we've got that. We've got our text file, and I want to load this using Elixir, right? So let's go to the lib and fast Postgrex, and let me delete this, and it's going to have a method called import and file path, and so here what it's going to do is it's going to okay, so before this, let's take a look at our file. Okay, so it's data with IDs, right? So so you can read a file completely in memory, but if you have big files, it's a good idea to use streams, right? So here I'm going to say, I'm going to open a stream for this file, and for each of these lines, right, I'm going to do something with this, okay? I can just say, so this is something I do often when working with files, so just to test stuff, what I do is I just take 10 rows from this file, and I get them to work for 10 rows. If it works for 10 rows, it's going to work for all the rows, right? So here, when you say file stream, by default, the mode is the way it reads is line by line. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to give us an enumerable containing multiple lines. Okay, one line each. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say enum each, and I'm just going to print that out. Okay, so I'll just say iputs. Let's inspect this and see what happens. Okay, so now to run this, I can say mix. So if it is something which you want to put in production, it's a good idea to move this into a mix task. But here, I'm just going to use mix run expression. The expression is fast IO with Postgrex dot import and double quotes data with IDs dot txt, right? And that's the expression. Okay. So what's happening here is it's taking those lines, and if you see, it's actually printing out our lines. And our lines have 10 tab, because tab is the separator, and at the end we have a new line, right? Because new line is the line separator, right? So that's good. Now what we want to do is we want to insert this into Postgrex. So one way to do this is we can say, all right, so first we need to parse this, right? So I can say map. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a stream because I want it to happen efficiently. So map, and we'll say this is a line, and what I'm going to do for each line is I'm going to take a line and I'm going to strip the line, or trim. What is it called? Trim. Yeah. So trim is the function which strips out white space in new lines. And a new line is also a white space. So trims that, and I'm gonna split this into split on tab, and I'm also going to trim those, and I'm also going to split this only into two parts. Okay. In case we have tabs inside of our word, right? So that is going to give me two things: ID and the word, right? So that's good. And what we can do, if you think about it, to insert into a database table, what you do is you run an insert query, right? So Postgrex. So all right. So what we need to do here is we need to create a connection. And if you look at the documentation here, this is how you create a connection, right? So this is how I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to copy this whole these two lines, right? So I'm going to copy these two lines, and so let me zoom that out, and actually let's create another. Okay, so yeah, so let me just put it here. Okay, all right. So remove IEX. So we're starting a Postgrex connection, localhost username, Postgrex databases, FP. Okay, so we'll get this from configuration in a minute. But for now, this looks good, right? And what we are going to do after that is we're going to run a query using our connection, and we're going to run an insert query, right? You're going to say insert into words, because that's the name of the table, and ID and word, and we have two placeholders, right? So question mark. I'm not sure what the placeholders are. So yeah, I think it is $1 and $2, but let's just try it out, right? So we'll know in a minute. And the parameters I'm going to pass to that are ID and word, okay? And we'll look at the result of this, okay? So now I'm going to run this, and so it's done, but it didn't print anything. Oh, because we are running it as a stream. So if you're running anything as a stream, you need to, actually evaluate it or put a stream.run at the end. Okay, that's going to cause it to run. So it's failing. And what's the error here? It says syntax error near $1. So yeah, I guess it's question mark. So the placeholders maybe. So this takes a bit of experimentation or reading the documentation. So near question mark. Why is that so? Postgrex query, insert into words. It should be values, right? So no. So maybe $1 and $2 was correct, and our query was wrong. Let's try that out once more. Okay, so now we're getting a different error. It says got 1, please make sure the value passing matches the definition, right? So that's progress, right? So it's saying we're passing a string where it's expecting an integer, right? So I'm going to say ID, so I'll say ID string is that, ID is integer dot parse, and ID string. Okay, and what does parse do real quick? This returns the integer int. But also saying, it shouldn't have any extra characters. If it does, it's going to fail here. So that's good. Now if you go here and try to run it, hopefully it should run, and it does, right? It does. If you look at it, it says columns nil, insert is done, and number of rows is 1, right? So it inserted those rows, and we can look at those rows if we run select star from words. Okay, awesome. All right, so now that's working, and so since that's working, what we'll do is we'll comment out the take 10 and run it, and all right, come on. So if we run it, it fails because we have a unique constraint, and a primary key on the words ID. So we're going to truncate the whole table, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it and look at the time. Okay, so it's running it, and it's using the same connection for this. All right, so okay, so one thing which is kind of obvious here is if it used parallel inserts, this could be faster, right? So that's something which is very obvious here. All right, so Wow, this is taking very long time. So, okay. So I want this to finish running. So let's take a quick look at the count of data with IDs, and it is 99,000. It's not that much. So let's see. Is it done? Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Okay. So, all right. So we'll let that run, and let me actually check the count of words here from words, and we have 26,000, right? So very slow, very slow. Okay. So, oh boy. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, again, it's very obvious that we can make this parallel, right? Because we're using Elixir. Let's make this parallel. Awesome. Okay. So, all right. So what we are doing here is we are mapping it properly, and so let's make a small change here. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say I'm going to return an IT and word, and I'm going to put this in a in a different each. Okay. So here we have word, and here I'm going to run the query. Okay. And okay. So this is not actually a word. This is a word SQL params. Okay. So we just use that. And what we want to do here is we want to make this parallel, right? Because we have Elixir and we want to insert multiple records. And my computer has 8 cores, so I'm going to use all those. So I'm going to say, so to make things parallel, Elixir has a very neat thing called task dot async stream. Okay. So what the task dot async stream takes is it takes an enumerable and it runs it over multiple processes. Okay. So what if you think about it, what we want to do is we want to take all those 100,000 rows. We want to split them into 8 chunks, right? Because we want to run it on 8 processes parallelly, right, concurrently, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say stream dot chunk, and let's take a quick look at chunk. Chunk takes an enum and n, which is the number of elements you want. So in this case I actually know the counts, so I'm just going to hard code the counts, but you would have to be more intelligent about this, if your input is varying, right? Or you could also say I want to chunk this by 10,000, right? So you can say we have the enum, and I want to chunk this by 10,000, and the step is also going to be 10,000, and the leftover we don't want to leave anything, right? So I'm passing an empty list to that. So now task async stream is going to get chunks of 10,000, okay, and so it's going to get word or rows, right, each consisting of 10,000 records. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take those 10,000 rows, right, and we're going to say enum dot each those 10,000 rows, and yeah, I'm going to use that, and we'll move this over there. Okay, so all right, awesome. So now we have so now hopefully we'll be running this parallelly, okay, concurrently on 8 processes. Okay, so we haven't actually mentioned that. So okay, that's the end of async stream, and I want to say max. All right, so what's the name of that option? Max concurrency, right? Max concurrency is 8. Okay. So let's close this, and let's go and see if that's done, right? So it's done, and it took 3 minutes 41 seconds. Okay, so I'm gonna write this down. Okay, so this guy took this much time to execute. Well, okay, so this is on a single process using insert. Okay, so that's nice. Now what we've done is we made our process concurrent, right? So now that's actually going to fail because we haven't truncated everything. So I'm going to quickly truncate the words table and run this. So hopefully it should be cut by the time should be cut by 8. So yeah, it's done in 5 seconds. But now it says there's actually an error here. So it says timed out. Okay, so this is another error you may run into while running, while using task async. Okay, so which is task async stream times out if it goes over 5 seconds. Okay, so we'll say. So let me look at the documentation and look at the timeout. Okay, so let me make this more readable. So timeout. Okay, so timeout is the maximum amount of time to wait. Okay, this defaults to 5 seconds. Okay, so what we also want to say is we want to say timeout. Take as much time as you need. So just put it to infinity. Okay. So now hopefully. Okay, so let me also look at the count of rows. See, like I said, actually inserted a few words. I'm going to delete that, and now hopefully it should run in what is 4 minutes by 8? It should be 30 seconds, right? So this guy should finish within 30 seconds. Okay. All right. So it's taking its time. Now one problem I see here is it's using the same connection. Why is it using the same connection? If you look at the connection ID, it's the same. So I'm not sure what's happening here. Okay, so this is not good. I'm gonna stop this. So it took 44 seconds and it didn't finish. So something is wrong here. And okay. So if you see, we are using the same connection and inserting data on the same connection, right? So what we should do is we should use a new, a separate connection each time we want to do this, right? So actually, since we are using pool boy, we can get a transaction using a different connection every time we run a query. Okay, so the way you do that is if you look at the documentation, it takes something like this, which I've already used in a previous project. So I'm just going to use that. So now, all right. So okay. So let me quickly take a look at the name. So all right. So let me take a look at the config. The config has a name here, right? So what we're doing here is we are creating a connection pool with this name. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pass PG. Okay. And so this has to be done in 2 places. Okay. Once when you create the connection, and once when you get a transaction, get a connection using a transaction. Okay, so let me actually look at the syntax here, and so the syntax for this is you need to use Postgrex stop link with the name PG and pool as db connection dot pool boy, right? And pool size, okay, pool size is 8, and host name is good, and database, so everything else is good. Okay, so this is how we are starting a link, and so this starts a pool boy connection, a pool boy connection pool, and whenever we want to make an insert query, we can use the transaction. Okay, so transaction here, the name of the pool is PG, and what we want to do here, we want to get the connection here, and we want to run our query inside that transaction. Okay, and so instead of the PID, I'm going to pass the connection, and the pool is db connection dot pool boy, and the pool timeout is infinity, and the timeout is infinity. Okay, so all right, all good now. So now we are actually okay. So what have we changed? We've added the pool boy name for the connection pool. We also said that it should use pool by for connection pooling, and its pool size should be 8. Okay, and we've done the same when we use the transaction. Okay, and hopefully now it should. So let me truncate words and run this again. Okay, so now if you look at the connection ID, it's changing, right? You see the connection ID, it's 3029 some. Okay, so it's using different connections for different inserts. So now it's actually running 8 connections and inserting on 8 connections. Okay, all right, so this is going to take some time, and so meanwhile I'm gonna create a commit here, and so at the end of the show I'll give you the location of this repository in GitHub, but meanwhile let's look at other ways to increment the performance. Okay, so one way to increment this is by increasing the number of processes, right? So if we say instead of 8 use 16 processes, so it may actually run faster. Okay, so you can tweak these and find out which is the best for you. Okay, but so this is still going to take a while. Okay, so now it actually took 1 minute 8 seconds, right? So which is good, but it is not really linear scaling, which is to be expected, right? Which is to be expected. So instead of 3 minutes 40 seconds, we got it to 1 minute 8 seconds. Okay, so on 8 processes. Now, one of the reasons why this may be happening is if you look at my computer, it has 8 cores, but these are 8 virtual cores. It really has 4 cores. Okay, so that's the reason why this is actually being cut by 4 times. I think, I'm not sure, but that's my guess. Okay, anyway, that's still a very impressive speed benefit, right? We've decreased the runtime by 25%. I mean, by 4 times, right? Now we've got a 400% or whatever. You do the math. All right, so we've got an order of magnitude improvement in performance, right? Okay, but one thing I want to say here is, if you have a hammer, everything seems like a nail. And Elixir, if you're using Elixir, you immediately want to run something parallelly, right? And get the most performance by running this in parallel. So it turns out that I actually work with some ETL staff, and I have to do this in my day job. So it turns out that PostgreSQL actually has something to make insertions very fast. Okay, and that is if you Google for a bit, you'll know PostgreSQL bulk insert, and as soon as you search for this, the first few entries will be for copy, okay? And so here, if we go to the Stack Overflow question, and someone's gonna, so if you see copy is mentioned here. So, this is a special command which has been created for bulk inserts, okay? So what I'm gonna do here is so I'm gonna create a branch here called insert SQL, okay? And I'm gonna push this branch. Okay. So, all right, I'm gonna push this at the end of the end of the session so that you can actually see what we're doing with insert, okay? So now that we know we have something called copy, which is specially built for bulk inserts, we can use that and we can try using that, okay? So let's actually use that. And okay, so so we are going to use copy this time, okay? And if you search for Postgrex, and you need to search for something called stream, and this gives you an example of how to use copy to insert data, okay? So I think there is a test somewhere which has an example of using streams. Okay, so stream test, so this is probably it. So if you don't know how to use something, go look at the tests, okay, because they document very nice use cases, okay? So here, I'm going to search for copy. So this looks like this is what can be used, okay? So, all right, so let me actually try that because I've used this before. And so what we're going to do here is we are going to, so here we have, here at this point, we have 10,000 records, okay? And we are inserting each one record at a time, okay? So instead of that, what we want to do is we want to, insert all those 10,000 records in one go, okay? So the way you do that is you need to say, so here what we have is we have the word rows, right? So say pg copy command is Postgrex query for connection, and you need to put the copy command here. So the semantics of that, the syntax for that is copy words id word from standard in, and from standard in with null as empty string. And so here I'm just gonna put some escape sequences there. Okay, so that's good. From standard in, right? So that's good. So this is pg copies query, okay? And what we are going to do here is we have the rows, right? So we have the rows, and so that's an enumerable. And what we will do is we will stream those rows into the pg copy stream. Okay, so this actually, is that the right way to do it? Yeah, I think so. Okay. Okay, anyway, let's run this and see what happens, okay? And so there's no better way to learn than experimenting. So let me query this, right? So in the previous instance, we actually executed all the rows, inserted all the rows, that's fine, and that's good. And now it's failing. Why is it failing? It says function query undefined or private. Did you mean query 3 or query? Okay, so let's see what we did there. So if you look at this, we forgot the empty list of parameters, so that's why it's failing. And so let me actually put this in a different pane, and now it's failing. It says 0 delimited identifier at or near your something, right? And if you look at it, so one thing that one thing that all right, so all right, so one thing that the stream expects is the copy command expects you to give it data in this format. Okay, so it expects you to give data in this format: 1 tab awesome, right, and 2 tab true. Okay, so it expects you to give multiple elements where each row is or it really expects some string or some IO data. Okay, and if you look at our word rows, these are actually 2 elements, and they're not separated by tab. So word rows here is something like this. Okay, so 1 comma awesome and 2 comma raw, right? So what we want to do here is we want to convert it into 1/t awesome, 2/t raw. And the neat thing about this is it actually accepts an IO data. So we can actually use this without, with minimal transformations. So what I'll do here is I'll map this, right? So here we have a row, right, which will be 1 awesome, right? So a 2-element row with 1 awesome, and I'm just gonna match on that. So ID word, and so what we want to do here is let's say ID, comma /t, which is the separator we need. By default, copy uses that /t separator, and word and a /n for line separators. Okay, so that should do it, I think. So let's go there and run this again. Okay, so now it's failing, and 0 length delimiter identifier. Okay, so I'm not sure what's happening here. So let's see. // Okay, so when I run into situations like these, what I do is I give it something which I know is good. Okay, so I'll just say 1/t awesome /n 2/t true /n. Okay, so let's give it that and see what happens. Okay, and so it's failing again with that same. So maybe maybe you're doing something wrong somewhere. Okay, so let's take a look at the this, and so there's actually an issue which talks about this stream copy, and there is a good issue which talks about this. And so here, if you see, the way you do this is you prepare this and do this. Okay, you have prepare and stream. Okay. Oh, okay. So prepare takes 1 more argument, and okay. So it seems we need to use prepare and a stream. Okay. All right. Okay. So I need to say. So let me actually look at my code and see how I'm doing over there. So it seems we need to use the stream and not the query function here. Okay, so that I think was what we were doing wrong. Let me run this, and so I'm not sure if I need to compile. So when something doesn't work, I try all sorts of things. Okay, and it's actually failing. It says, why the heck is it getting this in the input? that doesn't look good. So let me get rid of that. Okay, so let me just get this guy out of here and out here. Okay, and I'll just comment this out. Okay, so it's always good to narrow down the code which is giving you problems. And so now let me go back, do a quick compile and run it, and now it's failing. So what's happening here? We have the connection, we have the enumerable, and we have, okay, so let's look at this. We have the stream. Is it really a stream? Okay, so let me put two enumerables here. Okay. Actually, two elements as an enumerable. Okay, so this guy is actually failing with another error here. Zero length delimited identifier name. Okay, so maybe we don't need a new line at the end. Is that it? Right. Okay, so this doesn't make sense. Zero length delimit. Okay, is there something wrong with our query? From standard in. Let me just get rid of the null thing because I don't really expect a null here. Okay, so it seems like it ran fine, and maybe the problem was with the syntax all the while. So where is it? Okay, so let me look at the count of table, rows in that table, and do a quick select star from that table. And yeah, so it looks like it inserted those rows. And now, okay, so now it looks like the culprit was our syntax, the copy syntax. So now I'm going to move this back into our code. Okay, I'm going to move this back here. Okay, so let me first uncomment that. So uncomment that and get rid of the stuff inside that function and move this over there. Right, so move this over there. Well, we actually have a transaction, so get rid of that. Okay, so this is turning out to be longer than I anticipated. All right, so now we'll uncomment. Okay, so yeah, that looks good to me. Let's run this. Hopefully it should run fine. Oh boy, invalid input syntax for integer empty. So, all right. So I don't know what's going on here. So let's just take two rows, okay, and let's run that. And what's happening is it's the same error, and it says terminating because invalid input syntax for integer empty. So I think that is because there is a new line at the end, is it? So this is okay. So you know what I'm going to do here quickly is I'm going to create a small file. Okay, so I'm going to create a file called test and when input, and here we have one. Okay, so I'm going to use that and say I have one. Awesome. to true, and I have an empty line at the end. Do I have an empty line? Yeah, okay. And now if I run copy, so I'll say copy to which table is that? Words, ID, word from IP, and so it did copy. And what happens if I put a new line at the end? Alright, so it says, okay, so the problem is there is a new line at the end, and how do we fix that? Alright, this is a very simple problem. What do we do here? Well, one way to fix this is okay, so alright, so let's see. I've done this stuff before, so I'm gonna look at my source code and see how I've done it. Okay, so okay, role/n. So I mean, it should. Okay. So you know what? Let me try it without an n, because I'm suspecting this is this already has an n. I'm not sure. Okay, so here extra data after last expected column. Okay, so that's because there's no new line. Okay. So one way to do this is we can say enum inter. What is that? Intersperse /n. Alright, so let's run. So enum intersperse should okay, this is getting really weird. Okay, so what I'm going to do here quickly is we've been debugging this without looking at the data, so I'm going to do a quick inspect and do a quick inspect with this, okay, and see what we're getting, okay, and actually we do an inspect here, IO inspect, label before PG, okay, so now hopefully we'll know what's going on. So if you look at this, so it says PG19A, 9 is the tab character, and 2, okay, so there's another problem which I really didn't see earlier is, if you look at this 2 should actually not be a 2 but a string representation of 2, because if you are using IO data, this is not really if you're using IO data, 2 becomes something else, right? Wow, how did we miss that? Right, so okay. Oh boy, so it was not really the new line which was an issue. It was because the ID. So if you think about it, if you're using IO data, right, the number 1 represents a byte, which according to the ASCII table is an SOH, whatever that is, right? So and that's what's happening here, I believe, and you need to be careful with integers while using IO data. Okay, so now it's failing because of duplicate keys, so I'm going to truncate this and run this whole thing. That's good. So it ran pretty quickly, and so now what we are going to do is I'm going to remove that enum take 2 and run this, and also we want to truncate the table, and let's see. Awesome. Awesome. This executed in just 1 second. Can you believe that? All right, so if I look at the count and oh boy, count star from words, we got everything inside of the database in just 1 second. Now compare that with wow, this makes me really happy. Compare that with these numbers, right? All right, come on. All right, so compare that with these numbers. So you've got 3 minutes, almost 4 minutes, and we used the power of Erlang and Elixir. We got it down to 1 minute, and we used the right tool for the job, and we got it to 1 second. So, don't always just increase the concurrency and expect the best results. Search for the proper way to do things. Okay, and so another experiment I'm going to do here, because it's simple, is I'm going to remove the chunk, and I'm going to remove this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run this in one process and see how much time that takes. Okay, because now we're still doing the copy on 8 processes. So let's just do it on a single process. So stream map, we got that, and so you know what? Let me make a comment there. Okay, because I want you to be able to see that. So get rid of IP, and git commit, use copy instead of insert, right? And finally, what I want to do here is I want to get this guy outside of this whole chunk, and I don't want a sync stream anymore, and I want to map all of this, and I'll just use an enum map because I just want to get the data out of that. And so once I have that, what I want to do is, okay, so a few changes. We've started a transaction, we've created a stream, and we're opening a file and mapping these things. And since we're converting it into a string anyway, I'm not going to bother doing that or that. Okay, so I'm just going to get this guy, and actually I'm going to get this guy, and so we have ID string and word, and I want to say ID tab word new line. Okay, we got that, and so this is our enumerable, and all we need to do is stream that into our PG copy, right? So all of this looks good, and now if we run this, well, first we need to truncate the table. So truncate that, and if we run this, let's see. So 1.747 seconds. Okay, so not bad, right? So in this instance, this may actually be the optimum, right? So even though it's a bit slower. It's slower by 0.7 seconds. So this may be an ideal solution, because you don't have multiple processes. Just one process is going to do the job for you. Okay, so that's good. And so you see what using the right tool to do the job works like, right? So all right, so I'm going to make a comment here. Remove concurrency for copy, right? Okay. And finally, I want to show you how to do an export quickly, okay? Because that's pretty easy now. So we'll say export to file path, and we can start a link, and we can open a transaction and say copy select star from words. And actually I'm going to say select IT convert from words, right? So you can use any SQL query here, and let's see, to stand it out, right? So this gives us a stream, and what we can do here is we can take that stream, and I can say we can put that stream into a file stream at that location, right? So very simple, right? Very simple, and hopefully this should run without any problems. So I'm going to say, instead of import, I'm going to do an export, and data with IDs, I'm going to say out, data with IDs. So this got executed. Okay, so there's actually an error here. So what does it say? It says, oh, so this actually gives you, so if you look at this, it actually gives you Postgrex results. So all right, so a quick note here, PG copy gives you a list of Postgrex result structs. Okay, so what you want to do here is you want to map those. So this gives you Postgrex result, and it also has a struct. So that's a struct which has a list of rows. Okay, and what we want to do here is we want to just extract those rows. Okay, and since this is an IO list, this is a proper IO list. We're just streaming it into a file stream, so that should be good. Okay, and it's done in 0.640 seconds. That's pretty impressive. And if you look at out, it has all those rows, and if you look at a head, it is everything properly formatted. So awesome, right? So I don't want to kill that pane, and so this okay. So that's all there is to Postgrex, guys. And Elixir has a lot of awesome packages built by awesome folks. For Postgrex, this guy Fish Cakes, this guy's awesome. He's doing great work. Awesome. Anyway, I love Postgrex. It's very neat. It allows you to handle things with PostgreSQL in a very nice way. So if you're using PostgreSQL, don't just rely on Ecto, because with Ecto you can't do a lot of things which Postgrex allows you to do. So just go ahead and read the documentation and have fun with this library. So that's it for this episode, guys. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.